is not less than 50. It is greater than 50.
You don't allow crossing things out.
Is it divisible by 4?
Oh.
I mean, it's a mess with it.
It is divisible by 4.
Okay. So that means you cross out all the 2s and 4s.
It is
Which
divisible.
means it would be 416, and any of those would be in the running.
Yeah, but we crossed
How
all
do you
those
figure
off
them out, though? I forget.
because they're lower than 50.
Rule for 4
Well, the
is,
Oh,
divisibility
yeah, that's
for
right.
4
You have
is.
to go.
they're all
You
even.
have to
All
go
multiples of
above
4 are
that.
even, we've determined.
Uh-huh.
Not, they're all
You
even
do the
numbers,
last
so they all
two
end in 2,
digits.
4, 6, 8.
Yeah.
But, and then there's another part to it, but I always kind of skip the 4s, and I tell them to divide. If we determine it's even, then I would tell them, okay, divide, with your whiteboard, and we talked about divisibility, so if there's no remainder.
4
But I
is
don't
the
feel like
last
doing
2
all that.
digits of the number can be divisible by 4.
Well,
So you do have to
just-
divide, right.
Right,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
right.
So I think I have it
We've
narrowed down
already-
to 2 numbers.
Okay. Would you like to take a guess? But if you miss it, you're out of the game.
I'm going to wait for
Okay.
one more clue,
Okay.
if I can ask it.
Yeah.
Is it divisible by, is it let's see, I want to make sure I say this in the right math way. Is it a multiple? No, that wouldn't be right.
Factor.
How would you say, I guess, is it a multiple of 11?
No.
So like 11 times 1, 11 times 2.
A multiple of 11 is like if you're counting, multiples are counting by the numbers. So 11, 22, 33, 44.
Okay, that was the question I wanted to ask. Okay.
Yep.
I'm nowhere near where I probably should be. Is it more than 70?
No. It is less than 70.
I could see in a classroom that going like, is it greater than 10? Is it less than 20? Like where they're not really thinking a lot of math that
Right.
way. It's more a guessing game.
Yes.
Is it 52?
No.
Because 5 and 2 is 7, and that's not divisible by. So
What did you say?
Oh, that's not a
That's
question I can ask.
That's a strap. So you're saying if they take the 2,
if they add 5 and 2, it's 7, and 7 is not divisible by 4, so the number's not divisible by 4. Is that right?
No, 52 is divisible by 4. Because 4 goes into 5 one
Yeah.
time, and then 1 left over, that's 12, 13. 4 times 13.
Oh, okay. I must be thinking of the 3 and the 6 rule.
yeah, 3 and 6
So
got
Gotcha.
some of the
Yeah,
digits.
Maybe a question I would add if an older grade is it a squared number?
Ooh, yes, that would be great.
Oh, I know it.
Because that's what I was just going to ask.
Is it a square? It is
number?
not a squared number.
Oh.
Okay. Then I think I know what it is.
Okay?
56.
It is 56. Yes. It is.
So I got stuck
So
on
there's
the
a prize box
multiples
over there. You
before.
can go get something.
You didn't say that.
All right.
Right.
So I mean
More
that's just a
incentive.
fun game, but number sense, like just talk,
Right.
number sense. I know you don't have a lot of spare time, but in your spare moments, like maybe if you play on your phone before you go to sleep or whatever, like Google number talks, and there are so many things out there, and that builds number sense. And it's things like this. It's even like putting just a problem on the board and just talking about that one problem for like 10 minutes, and it's doable. I mean, you could put a problem up there and then, oh, well, how did you solve this? How did you solve this? But yes, number sense, I don't know, and maybe sometime I can come back and do like a whole session on number sense, because number sense is like where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
Like that really is the root problem of all math problems. So that's why number bonds are so important, which that's more K2, but sometimes they come to you and they don't know that. And I can tell you it's not because the teacher before you didn't teach it. It is just students don't retain what we taught the year before.
Well, plus-
and then, yeah.
I'm sorry. They might know basic number bonds, but they don't understand that, to find the whole, you always add. To find a part,
Right,
you know.
exactly. Part whole
That's
connection.
what we always
Yes,
have
that's
to
huge.
teach.
That's huge. I can tell you, I've been doing this with my son
You guys do a great job.
a lot since he's like 2 or 3. I'm just a math person, and so, but we'll be riding in the car, and he'll go, Mama, I know what 6 + 7 is. And I'll say, what is it? You know, I don't care. And he's like 13, and I'm like, well, how do you know that? He's like, well, I know 6 + 6 is 12. So then I know that one more than that is 13. And just him making those connections, like in his head, I mean, he'll just randomly tell me, well, I know what 60 + 60 is, Mama. And I'm like, well, what is it? 128? Well, how do you know? Well, 6 + 6 is 12. So they just have zeros on it. And so, like, he's even making those, and those are the most meaningful connections, more than me saying that. 6 + 6, okay, it's just one more. Like, when he makes that connection like that with his number sense, he remembers it and it makes more meaning. And then he'll go like, oh, and then 6 + 8, well, that's one more, so that's 14. And then he'll start a whole number string, and I'm like, yeah, this is good math lesson. This is homeschooling right here.
You know, I do this, with this we just put a number up every day, how many schools a day. And then we started off just talking about, is it odd or even, and why. Now they get so often asking each other, okay, what makes that number? And so there's some kids that are like, they don't even know long division, but they know that if they add the number 3 times or multiply it, then the reverse. So they'll say, you know, they try to do really hard problems. And that has just kind of developed accidentally, you know, but it has really been a good thing. So now I need to take it a step further now this part of the year.
Yeah, the things that help us learn the most are things that I think happen like authentically. Like it happens, like you discover it yourself. All right, and then another strategy is bar model, which I know that's what I'm supposed to spend most of my time on today, is bar modeling. But let me tell you that bar modeling is not like I remember when I first like started teaching in Singapore, like, oh, you have, because word problems are so hard for kids. Bar model is not going to like fix that. Like, because it's not going to be a solution for students that have reading comprehension problems. It's also not going to fix number sense problems. Bar model is just a strategy. That's all it is. And then some people just jumped on that bar model bandwagon because, you know, they're taking the EOGs, and word problems is like the majority of the test. And word problems is actually what you actually do in real life. So that's why you should spend the majority of your time on word problems, because that's what you do in real life is word problems. So bar modeling is awesome, but I made this mistake, and I was thinking as I was doing this, if I was teaching 5th grade now, I would not do this. But I used to have like a composition notebook, like a marble notebook, and I would print out a problem every single day. And I even did this in kindergarten. We used Super Kids then, so I would make the word problems about the Super Kids that we taught then. And they would have to solve that problem using a bar model every day. Now I wouldn't do that. I would just solve that problem. Right. However you can solve it. If you can solve it in your head, you know, that used to be like a bad thing. Show me your work. If they can do it in their head and they're getting right, they should only show you your work when they're getting it wrong. Because isn't the goal to be able to do math in your head?
But, okay, so, sorry, advocate, real quick. As the assessor of whether or not taking a test,
right.
If they write 4 and that's the answer, how do I know how they got 4?
Well, you got to know your students too.
Okay, that's the thing.
Yeah,
so
you totally have to know your students.
Okay. Because I make them show their work because
absolutely.
Maybe I don't know them yet.
And I see the value of that. Absolutely. I was just saying, like in my composition notebook now, I would not just say you have to do this bar model, like. Because some people, they don't get bar model. Right. Like it doesn't come, but they see the numbers, they know the words, they know what to do, but they just don't get the bar model. Hopefully today we'll fix that and everybody can get it. But all right, so moving on. So I just want to go quickly because sometimes you don't know what they're supposed to know when they come to you. So in Singapore, K2, it does number relationships, number bonds, place value, part-whole relationship, addition, subtraction, and multiplication, division, relationship. That's what they should come. When they come to 3rd grade, according to Singapore, I'm not talking about real world, but according to Singapore, that's what they should have mastered in K through 2. I will tell you, in kindergarten, you spend the entire year, except for the last 2 months, on the numbers 1 through 10. And Honestly, my number sense as an adult grew so much with me teaching kindergarten for those 2.5 years than me to ever teaching 4th and 5th grade, because I spent so much time on 1 to 10. And I'm just like, how can you teach this? But you have to, because then whenever they make the their connections just grow. Everything else was so much easier. But you spend so much time on just 1 to 10, and then eventually they throw in 11 through 20. And you count to 100, but that's about all you do. And then 1st grade you get into the number bonds. 2nd grade is a lot about place value. And then addition and subtraction also comes in with the number bonds. And then multiplication division is introduced at the end of 2nd grade. All right, so then your emphasis, multiplication and division, obviously, that's like the whole year of 3rd and 4th grade. 5th grade, then you go into fractions, decimals, percents, and then 5th and 6th, they also add in some equations and expressions, which is getting them prepared for algebra, is what they're doing.
So when we're seeing it in 4th grade, it's more of an exposure, not necessarily mastery, because when they get into 5th and 6th, they're going to
work on those same concepts. So that's why you don't see a lot of review in Singapore. Actually, Singapore has a built-in review. So if you notice how the things are taught, like you'll teach like a number thing, and then you'll go to like a section on weight or time.
Right.
They build in their review with what you just taught into that new content information. So all the numbers so if you just talk about place value, then that's when they'll introduce the metric system, because what does the metric system use? Place value. Because everything's based on 10. So there's built-in review, but there's not a spiral review like Saxon has, or some, a lot of math programs will have here's a review, 5 problems from what you've been doing previously. There's none of that in Singapore. Because it is assumed that you're supposed to master it. And if you master it, you don't need to review it because it's there. It may be way back in your file cabinet, but it's there. So yeah, that's what you'll spend time on. All right, in order for it to be successful here, number sense has to be mastered by the majority of the end of 2nd grade. It has to. And I get that, you got that revolving door. Some kids aren't here. But I'm talking about the kids that are actually Brookstone kids from kindergarten through 8th grade. Right. They should master it. I'm not talking about the ones that come in 2nd grade. You can't worry about what they don't have. You got to start where they're at, and you got to get them as far as you can. But the ones that started in kindergarten and go all the way through, those are the ones that should have mastered number sense by 2nd grade.
I see that.
I think so. I'm seeing that as my 2nd year only, but between the last 2 grades.
Anybody that comes in, they're just lost.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to help them.
Another thing is that every teacher that teaches it, you have to buy into the philosophy and you have to teach it correctly.
Right.
And even if 1 year is off, it messes it up. It really does. You cannot Americanize it.
Right.
You cannot. You cannot Americanize it at all. I know that's what we want to do. You want to just teach them how to add. But if you don't follow the Singapore steps, I promise you they're not going to really understand what they're doing. And then you got to be willing to work together, which that's one thing that Brookstone has above any other school. The school I just previously worked at, the schools I worked before, Brookstone is a family and a team, and you have to help each other. Especially, you got so many things with the home situations and just everything, and then throwing in this crazy curriculum on top of that. You got to be able to help each other. And hey, I don't know, you got any good ideas for this lesson? Can you help me here? Can you come teach this for me? Can I come watch you? You got to be willing to help. And I know as teachers, oh, if I ask for help, that means I'm not good. Actually, that means you are good. In Singapore, they have master teachers, and on one lesson plan, you usually spend about a week on one lesson plan. And people come in and observe you, and they critique you, and you add and you take away. It's crazy. I would never want to work over there. But anyway, so lesson planning, always think concrete, pictorial, abstract. Now sometimes if you know your students, you don't have to do the concrete. If I know, okay, they all know how to add with the number disc, I can skip concrete. But you always have to think. And it is okay if she needs the number disc to do her math and he doesn't, that's okay. You give her the number disc and she can work on it using the number disc, and he can just fly through it and do I need something else to do. Yeah, you got to differentiate and got to meet them where they're at. And also, when you think about lesson planning, like don't think, oh, I have to do this like in one lesson. So like if I'm teaching something, one day can be concrete. The next day can be pictorial. The next thing is abstract. You know, like you don't have to do all three of those in the same, hour and a half, 45 minutes, whatever you have
I
to
think
teach
that's
math.
another problem with the curriculum. It moves way too fast,
Way too
I think.
fast.
'Cause
See,
they
I don't
have
know.
all that.
I mean,
in
I
one.
assume it's still the same, but our goal was never to get through the book. Our goal was to master. So if you're on the first or second, I mean, now at the same time, you got to be, there's
But
like a fine
We have
line.
a test that if they haven't,
Yeah,
been
that's stuff,
introduced
right.
to geometry, they're going to be in bad shape. If they haven't been introduced to
And a year ahead
fractions,
testing.
they're
Yeah.
going to be in bad shape. So
What did we
have
used to do sometimes, go through and figure out which things
and that's what
we needed and
Yeah.
That's what we
skip some
have to
things
do.
that were gonna be for the next year, I
That's
don't know.
what we have to
Yeah.
do.
I know. It's you got to figure out how to
It's
put
not
it
a
all
perfect
in.
world,
No,
right?
it's not. All right, so lesson planning, make sure you do manipulatives, pictures, and then symbols. Concrete must be mastered before moving on to pictorial. If you do have someone that is struggling, always back up to concrete. If you have someone that is struggling with a problem, back it up to and see where it is. Pictorial must be mastered before you move on to abstract, which is just basically the same thing. And then differentiate as needed. I can tell you in my last math class, because that's the only one I can think about right now, I had 5th grade students, and the way that I taught, I had an hour and a half for math, and I divided my class into the highs and the lows. And so I had my high students would come to the carpet, and we didn't have any technology, but I'd have my lesson on the whiteboard, while my higher students who did not need as much time with their lesson, they would go and do centers, working on whatever, and I had 10 centers that I had constantly going in the room. And they knew they were not allowed to speak to me at any time because I was their teacher at that point. And then once I felt that my low students were good, then they would switch. The low students would go do seat work. When they finished with their seat work, they did centers, and then my high kids, we'd breathe through the lesson, and then math was over. And so that's how I was able to differentiate, because, and really, like, it kind of helped because the second, I would teach the same concept. So I wasn't teaching two different lessons. I wasn't having to plan. I was teaching the same concept, but I knew my low kids needed more concrete. But then whenever they were doing their centers or their seat work, they were still hearing the high kids lesson, so they heard it twice. And like sometimes I'd see them like sitting in their seat, and sometimes the low kids would even like be working out the problems with the high kids because I would give them different problems to do. But that was one way that I was able to differentiate. And again, you got to have an hour and a half, 2 hours to be able to do that. And I know like time is money in the world, but that's when you just got to differentiate as needed, and then assess and reteach as necessary. And I don't necessarily mean like you got to give a test, you got to give a quiz, I mean, I can assess my students by looking at them. If I'm looking and he's sitting there staring at it for 5 minutes, and okay, what's the problem here? I just assess. You don't know what to do. So I'm not talking about just tests and quizzes, but like always assess and then reteach. All right, concrete. Again, I don't know if I didn't give you this, but this is the list. Like anything you can put your hands on, that's what concrete is. Anything. I don't know. Target has these wonderful dollar bins, and I unfortunately have. I think I have about 80 sets of these.
Those.
They're like the little erasers.
They're so hard
And
to
you
find.
think, oh, kindergarten. I bought them for kindergartners, but when I taught 5th grade, the 5th graders went more crazy about these. And we use these for everything. Number sense things, adding, but anything that they can touch, feel, stuffed animals, counters. Of course, the number discs, popsicle sticks, connect the cubes, anything that you can think of is what you want to bring in for the concrete. Decimals, there's decimal discs. Brookstone has all of this. Somewhere there is a lot of math manipulatives, because I remember I had to organize the whole closet one time. Do you know where that is? Do they still have access to that?
Yeah, so we moved some of it to your room or the other side of your room.
Yeah, I don't, there's not a lot, but there is some stuff, I do have some things.
And there's still some stuff downstairs off the
Well,
music room, right?
And a lot
Yes,
of us
I believe
teachers
so.
have them, which they
Yeah,
all know
right.
that you can come and borrow,
But if there's anything else you need,
Yeah.
let me know.
Pictorial, stickers, pictures, photographs, hundreds charts, fraction squares, decimal squares, like even that hundreds charts right there, like that's not concrete. Even though they're holding it in their hand, they have to have an understanding of those numbers, so that's still pictorial. Because they can see the numbers, they can manipulate it, but you still got to understand what 1 means, what 11 means, what 21 means, so that's still a pictorial or even more, even abstract. You know, that would not be a concrete.
So any item that can be what?
Like manipulated and touched, counted,
Is
Like-
concrete.
is
But
concrete.
this one, any item that can be, what do you
So
plan?
sort of if it's flat,
Item that can be
you
seen.
know, it's
Sorry. Where are you at?
H.
Pictorial stage? Oh, seen or visualized?
Seen or visual.
Yeah, sorry. All right, let's play a game. So you probably play this game in your room, and this was really fast, and it's not a thinking game. But you have a board and you have a marker. So when it's your turn, you have to bring both of these up here, okay? So what you're gonna do, I'm gonna keep your holding yours, sorry. So what you're gonna do is when you come up, whoever I call you with, you're going to go back to back. You don't have to touch, because whatever. But you're gonna write a number on your board. It can be any number from 0 to 12. Let's not do 0. Let's do 1 to 12. Any number from 1 to 12, okay? This person over here is gonna write any number 1 to 12. When I say show me, you're going to show your boards like this. We're gonna tell you what the product is of those two numbers, and you have to figure out what is the other person's number. Because you know what you did. So let's say if I write a 5 and she writes a 6, and I say, okay, the product's 30, I look at mine, I know I wrote 6, so what 6 times what is 30?
Gotcha.
You ready? All right, let's do it. Who wants to go first? 2 people.
I'll try it. Go ahead, go ahead.
All right, back to back. And you can't cheat. Write any number 0 to 12, 1 to 12. Show me. All right, everybody, what's the product?
64.
64.
8.
8, Kathy won. All right, next
Oh,
person,
you had to do
Kathy.
fast? Oh, I didn't know it was a time thing.
Kathy,
Okay,
you're up.
I was all excited
Kathy.
that we picked the same
You're gonna
number.
stay in.
Oh, I have to
All
stay
right,
under
who wants to go
Trudy
next,
wants
Kathy?
to go.
I'll go.
Okay. All right, any number. Oh, wrong way, Judy. That way.
Oh.
Yep. All right, show me. Product is everybody?
30.
30.
6.
Tie, do it again.
New number.
here, there's research.
Oh, okay, I just grabbed one off here.
God, you wasn't the time. Makes sense.
Show me. Product.
24.
4. 6.
She got it. Okay, who wants to go
Good
next,
job,
Judy?
Judy. I'll go.
Like this game.
Too bad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, product,
Always
everybody.
winning every
20.
time.
Right.
20. All right, against Judy.
All right, Judy, let's go.
Let's do it, Duffy. Let's do this.
Okay.
I'm getting
All
smart
right.
here.
Show me. Product, everybody.
50.
5.
Tie, do it again.
Aye.
Come on, Judy, let's go.
So
Go,
this
Duffy.
Get your
game,
match.
whatever you want to do. I mean, if you've got kids you're working on mental math strategies, you could make as high numbers as you want. If you want to do like, oh, any number between 0 and 100. I mean, you're going to be sitting there, and you got to have kids that are good in mental math
Yeah,
with that. But
this is cool.
all right, show me. Everybody.
21.
21.
3.
7.
Tie. Okay, you both win. You,
You
both
get
can
the
get
idea.
that. But you would keep going until
That's awesome.
everybody in the whole
Yeah,
class
this is
going.
good. You can do this with addition if they
You can do
needed
that
practice
with so
or.
many things.
We
Yeah.
get a prize.
You can do that with
Come on.
so many things.
Yeah, we
Come
get a
on
prize. I
down.
guarantee you.
All right, do we need to take a break or are we good?
Good.
Good? Okay, so let's go to,
Little sugar and wine.
all right, so the next part is bar model, because that is what I was asked to come and actually talk about the most. Are you good with number disc though? Like, do you know how to use the place value disc and the place value mats and the number disc and how to like do the adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing with the number disc?
If you
I do not.
don't feel shy to say no, we don't.
I don't.
I don't.
But I'm sure if I, I didn't,
Spend time with it.
We could all
Yeah,
use
yeah, I
some review, I think.
Okay.
That's
But,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, you want to
Yeah,
use
absolutely.
magnetic? I've got magnetic.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is.
Like, see, I have the
Okay,
place
so
I
you
own
need to
there.
clear your boards, and this is where, like, I mean, clear your desk.
Rods.
Because everything, like, you gotta have, like, space. And so I just tell all my students, all right, put everything in, can I give you all two?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, we just assumed.
So you should have two. You wanna do it? All right, somewhere, do y'all all have sets of these in your class?
Yes,
Yes. Okay, do you use these?
Yes.
I have, yes.
Yes.
I don't have those.
You don't have those? Okay.
Sure, I could get some.
Yes. You need to get these because these are like gold money.
Do we have
in
extra
Singapore.
somewhere, you know?
We don't have extra.
Okay.
I'm gonna be,
Okay,
so
so-
it benefits us to
Because
separate
Kathy
them.
ordered them once and then
Well,
we still needed
I just
some.
separated them because I needed them. So when I was in the classroom, I actually had individual baggies for everybody to have, so that whenever like I needed them, I just called on somebody and said, go pass them out.
Of all of the discs
Yes.
in one, okay, so okay.
And you want to have 21s. You don't have that right now because I just gave you a handful. But if you're making sets, you want to give everybody 21s
We don't have
and
enough
20
for that.
10s. You need at least, because you gotta have enough to regroup 10.
Right.
So you can't just give them 10, because if not, you can't regroup.
So 21s, 2010s.
And then from there, it depends upon what you teach. Like if you're gonna teach this with hundreds, then you would want to do 20 hundreds for everybody.
Okay.
But you could probably get away with like 15 hundreds and 15 for the bigger numbers, probably. All right, and then as you, sorry, Andy. As you're going, if you need more, just grab some. And if you don't, I bought these from Christian Book Distributor because, like I said, the school that I went to,
Christianbooks.com.
they did not do Singapore, and the kids didn't know anything, and so I had to buy a class set of all of these, and these came from there, and they actually match with the real Singapore colors.
Cool.
And they're really
Yeah,
affordable.
yeah, well, that's
They're
supposed to be
really, really,
ordered
really
to
affordable.
match, and they would-
Okay, just for time's sake, we're just gonna do the hundreds. But if you were doing fourth
Talk to
grade,
about
fifth grade,
that by
sixth grade,
Kelly, and
you
that's not my
obviously would want to add the green chart. Okay? But if you can do it on the yellow chart, you can do it on the green chart because it's just more place values. But I just wanted you to see. And actually in fifth and sixth grade, you get into billions, and so I have a blue one so everybody has 3, and that's when you just spread out on the floor. Get on the floor and do your 3 mats. All right? So we're just going to use 10s, 1s, and 100s. So how this works is you would write an algorithm on the board. This is before you have taught this. And it's okay. I know it's January. You probably already have taught it. But if your kids are having trouble with the algorithm, back up and do this in January, and you will see huge growth by May, I promise you. They'll be able to do that algorithm. So let's say that we're going to do, we'll start with the easy one. 26 plus 31. The first thing you do is you tell everybody, and you have to go through this all the way. Okay, so, sorry, let me back up. All right, so count out, what is this? I would have a discussion about this. How much is this worth? 1. There I have. All right, and then we're going to put all of our 1s in. So 1s, 10s, 100s. I'm sure Kathy's amazing, so I'm sure she's got like this, like
It's
in
right
magnetic
above you.
form. Oh, okay.
It's amazing
Sorry.
she is.
She is. She always does everything. All right. So we would go through and talk about 1, and then you do 1 more. So how many is that? 2, and then 1 more would be 3. And how many 1s do we actually need? 6. So you would put the first number, 6 1s. And again, this is after you have talked about, so let's pretend that we aren't doing an actual problem. I would actually introduce these without having any algorithm, and we would talk about what happens when you get to 10. So I'm taking a step away from this. If I have, and I always tell my kids to put them in 3s, and you're always going to have those people that like don't do it, but they put them in 3s. Why? Why would we put them in 3s?
I had that discussion with her,
Next
actually.
one, you have to move it over to the 10s.
That's exactly right, because you can subitize 9 by looking at it. Because you can know this is 9. So you know that whenever you get, if you put it in like, and it works if you do 5s, but because the charts are so small, that's why I do 3s. But and also because when you do 3s, but if you do like this, they always have to count. Now, how many did I have? Because you can't summatize